I have discovered why Sam Darnold is struggling recently due to some help from some Twitter friends. But, I was thinking about it. I was looking at it. What is going on with Sam Darnold? Why is he struggling in recent weeks for the Minnesota Vikings? And when I read this statistic found by somebody else, it made it clear and obvious as to why. Hit that subscribe button right there. The podcast is fully monetized on YouTube. Let's go on this journey together. But let me tell you about Hochland Farm Beef. Hochland Farm Beef has the best rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef. This beef is sold in quarters and halves, and they have custom sample bags so you can try before you buy. How much money do you spend on beef per pound when you go to the grocery store? $5, $6. If you get a steak or a chuck roast, $8 or $9. If you get an expensive steak, $11 or $12. For $4.15 a pound. That's what I got mine for this year. I got a Hochland Farm Beef. How can you beat that? That's way better than a grocery store. Plus, it's way healthier for you, too. It makes 100% sense to go with Hochland Farm Beef. Get chuck roasts, sirloin steaks, T-bone steaks, ground beef, and much, much more when you go through Hochland Farm Beef. 952-491-1541. 952-491-1541. And you get 20% off by mentioning the Minnesota Tim podcast. Okay, so this statistic that was discovered by somebody else, I said I discovered it, but I discovered the tweet, whatever. It was posted by the Purple Persuasion on Twitter, which is a great Twitter follow if you're a Vikings fan. Posts Vikings content all the time. Highly suggest that. And it gave credit to Purple_Insider. And this statistic by Sam Darnold has really told the story of the Minnesota Vikings problems in recent weeks. It says, among all NFL pocket quarterbacks, nobody has held the ball longer than Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold. A large part of the problem on why his sack rate is so high. Look at this. Vikings QB Sam Darnold has been sacked on 10% of his dropbacks this season, and this leads the NFL. Now, there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, Ed Ingram stinks. Okay, he gives up one of the most highest pressures in the NFL among right guards. And now Christian Darrisaw is out. So you would think that this number would get even worse unless the Minnesota Vikings completely change their offensive system, their format, and screen pass, slant. But that's not what O'Connell and Sam Darnold like to do. And that really doesn't go with Sam Darnold's strengths. Sam Darnold's strength is throwing the football deep down the field. That's his number one strength. His number two strength is finding the routes down the middle of the field. His biggest weakness is throwing a check down pass on 2nd and 10 and giving you and your team a manageable 3rd and 4 opportunity. Sammy D does not like to do that. And it's been very clear and obvious that he doesn't like to do that. Now, there's a lot of fun plays that happen because of Sam Darnold's style. Let's just be real about that. The bombs to Addison and Justin Jefferson and finding Jalen Naylor down the middle of the field deep. Oh, it's fun. And it is glamorous to the eye if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan. And it hurts the eye if you're a Minnesota Vikings opponent when Sam Darnold looks down the field and finds an Addison, and it's a big play. But it also has its problems too, specifically against the Rams. Sam Darnold committed the cardinal sin as an NFL quarterback. In his own end zone, he holds on to the ball forever. You've got to be aware. You've got to understand the situation. Throw a check down pass there. Do something. Move the chains. You have about 2 minutes. It's a little less than 2 minutes, but it's about 2 minutes to move the ball down the field, spike it, do whatever, run some plays, get yourself in position to give yourself some heaves into the end zone at the 30 to 40-yard line, whatever the case may be. He takes a sack in his own end zone. And was it a terrible miscall by the officials? Absolutely it was. He had his face mask. He grabbed it. He yanked it. His neck got twisted. The Vikings got screwed by the officials not calling a flag in a game where the officials were throwing flags left and right and all over the place. But the reason why the Minnesota Vikings were in that position in the first place to rely on an official's call to save their butts is because Sam Darnold held on to the ball way too long. It's because he was dropping back and he was not getting rid of the football. You've got to get rid of the football. If Justin Jefferson isn't there on that mid or deep route, get rid of the football. If Addison's not there, get rid of the football. You're in your own end zone. The last thing that you can do is take a sack in your own end zone. And that's exactly what happened. So, blame the officials all you want, because I certainly did too. But who was first responsible in that situation to avoid any potential safety? It's Sam Darnold. He held on to the ball way too long. He allowed the officials to miss a call because he held on to the ball way too long. And right now, Darnold having his best season as an NFL quarterback. 7 games, 7 starts, 14 touchdowns to 5 picks. His higher total was in 2019, his second season in the NFL, where he had 19 touchdowns and 13 picks. So he's going to break that, and he's going to have his best season as an NFL quarterback. His completion percentage this season, 67.2%, compared to his previous high in 2019, 61.9%. So through and through, Sam Darnold is having statistically his best season as an NFL quarterback, and nobody would argue otherwise. However, after the first 4 weeks of the season, when the Vikings beat the Giants and the Niners and the Texans and who is team number 4? The Packers. Darnold had 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. The next closest quarterback was Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield with 8 touchdowns. And everyone's clamoring as Sam Darnold MVP, MVP, MVP. Well, since then, in 3 games against the Jets, against the Lions, and against the Rams, Sam Darnold has had 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. So almost in the exact same total of games. So the first 4 games, he had 11 touchdowns. And the next 3 games, he had 3 touchdowns. There's regression there. There's something going on there where things aren't clicking as easily for Sam Darnold. And maybe it's just the fact that the Minnesota Vikings defense is not capitalizing on turnovers as easily as they were the first 4 weeks of the season. Against Stroud, they picked him off in their own territory. Did the same thing against Brock Purdy. Did the same thing against the Giants. Van Ginkel touchdown. So maybe it's just as simple as that, where things just aren't as easy for Sam Darnold. Teams aren't turning the ball over as much to the Minnesota Vikings in optimal position, which means the Vikings are scoring less touchdowns offensively because of the field position that they're being given. So things like that are happening, and that is going to be part of why Sam Darnold's statistics don't look as similar. However, for Sam Darnold to have the same stat total after 8 games as he did after 4 games, I got 4-game span, he'd have to throw 8 touchdowns against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football. So just a statistic to show you the slow regression, not much of a regression. It's not like he's fallen off the face of the earth and throwing 8 picks a game, but there has been a regression there. He's not quite as pure as he was the first 4 weeks of the season. And that's to be expected. He was playing like the best quarterback in the NFL the first 4 weeks. That's not going to happen always. He's going to fall back to earth. He always was. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings issues after 8 weeks of this NFL season. So hit that subscribe button right there, and thank you for making this podcast a part of your day.